So how do you make the jump from swamp people to stand up? Obviously, you're out here in LA, which is kind of like stand up 7 days a week out here. How do you get dragged across into that or reacquainted with comedy?
Brother, this is where it gets even to me. Like, I don't like to be one of those people that talk foo-foo about universe or whatever. But when I look at, but bro, the way this next step happened was, it's just okay. So while I was at Swamp People, it was I loved working there. I worked with great people. I'm still friends with them now. I was very fortunate. It was a good team. But it's one of those shows where you make your money and then the show's done and then we wait for the next season to get picked up and then you have a couple of months off and bro, I would go to Indonesia for fucking 2 months or a month or whatever. And I think in 2014 or 15, I went out to Indonesia, and I invited two of my friends from Dearborn, Michigan. One of them being the actor on my Ed and Mo show, the guy who plays the Way Rab, right?
Okay,
he's a real good friend of mine. So we're out there, and I decided that I really wanted to trip really hard on mushrooms. And
that's a crazy thing to do in Indonesia, man. They don't like you doing mushrooms out there.
Not true. There's an island
wrong?
there's an island called Gili Trawangan. Everyone calls it Gili T. It's a tiny island just outside, an hour boat ride outside of Bali. So you go to Bali, you go to the east side, you can hop on a speedboat 1 hour, and then you're on this tiny 7-kilometer island that's so small that motored vehicles are outlawed. Everything is horse driven. There are no police on the entire island. The entire island are Muslims and nothing but mushrooms grow everywhere. So now, seriously, I'm dead serious because where the mushrooms really come from is the bigger island next to Gili T called Lombok, and mushrooms grow everywhere there, which kind of lends to the theory that Terence McKenna had, where he calls the stoned ape theory. He believed that human beings really became and grew our brains because he believed that there must have been a spot where a bunch of primates were around where their main food source was psilocybin mushrooms, and his idea was because that was their main food source, that's what caused them to gain consciousness. That was just a theory that he had. Okay. What is crazy is when I got the mushrooms from that, and after I had the trip, my friend was the one that told me. He's like, they just found the oldest human skull on the island of Lombok, which lends to the theory of the stoned ape theory. So I'm eating those mushrooms. Okay. So I told my friends, let's do it. It was Friday the 13th, full moon, beach party on Gili T, DJs, fire dancers, hundreds of people dancing under the moonlight. Beautiful, beautiful time. And I took, I fasted, bro, the entire day. And I took 10 grams. Roughly around 10 grams. This is not dried grams. This is wet grams. So I probably took anywhere from 5 to 7 dried grams.
Gee whiz.
And when you order it, we were sitting in this. Can I get detailed? Is that cool?
Yeah, you can get details you want, dude.
So, and on Gili T, we were sitting in this place called the Irish Bar, which a guy from Ireland actually opened up on Gili T. And what was really cool was the bar was basically decked out like a real Irish bar, right? With all the wood and all the fixings or whatever, but there were no doors because it's on the beach. And the whole entire was just sand. So it's like you're in an Irish bar, but you're on the beach. It's such a cool thing. So my friends get there, and I've already been there for 2 weeks, so I already have numbers for all the connects and everything. And I'm like, are you guys ready? We fasted the entire day, and I told everybody we should eat something light. So the idea was you fast the entire day, we eat all our mushrooms, and we eat something light like a salad so it doesn't compete with the mushrooms. Right? We eat the mushrooms first, wait about 40 minutes, and then eat. Sitting at the Irish Bar, make a phone call. Boom. About 10 minutes later, a skinny, lanky Indonesian kid on a bike comes up, throws the bike, runs into the freaking restaurant in front of all these families, drops maybe 15 grams of mushrooms on our fucking table. We pull out our fucking rupees, we fucking pay him, gets on his bike, and he takes off. There's no cops. Everyone does it out in the open. Not only that, the waiter walks up and says, I can put that in a salad for you. You know what I mean? It's like that's how ghillie tea is, man. So anyways, and the way these mushrooms come, it's so Indonesian. It's the way they package it. They take a banana leaf plant, a banana plant leaf, right? And they roll it into a cone. And then they put a toothpick through it so that it stays like a cone. And that's where they put the mushrooms in. And that's how they give it to you. Okay. And the mushrooms are so fresh picked that there's still dirt roots on it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they just pull them from the dirt and that's how you get them. Gave them to my friends. I ate mine. I took maybe 2 or 3 times more than they took. Waited about 20, 30 minutes, ordered our food. Right when the fucking salads came out, that's when the trip hit, bro. And I remember when I was looking up, I could see Sean and Mike, they're both brothers, in front of me. And Sean is doing this to his salad. He's just staring at it going, just stressed out, like looking down at it. Then I look at his brother, Mike, and his brother looks at me and goes, there's mountains in there. He goes, I can't eat mountains. That's exactly what he said to me. And then I looked at Sean and he wouldn't eat. When I looked in my bowl, every morsel of food had a cartoon face on it. I shit you not. And every cartoon morsel of the food was all looking up at me and they were all screaming, no, don't eat us. Dude, that's when I was like, yes. And I killed every character in that bowl, bro. And it was the most cartoonish trip I ever had. Okay, fast forward to peak trip. If anybody knows anything about mushrooms, mushrooms are like a roller coaster where you go to one peak and then you go down and then your next peak is higher than the last one. And then every peak gets higher and then you go back down and then it goes higher. And then you end up reaching the highest peak of your trip you're ever going to have. Right. And then from there, the peaks are getting lower and lower. And that lasts maybe 5, 6, 7 hours, depending. Dude, when I reached max peak, I astral projected out of my body. I remember my buddy Sean was like asking me a question or something, and the everything started vibrating, and the world started like falling apart, like in pixels, kind of like everything was buzzing and like disintegrating in front of me. And I told him, I was like, dude, I'll be right back. And I just laid down on the beach, and I looked up at the stars, and the stars played Connect the Dots. And then this woman's face was in the sky, glowing, like a glowing gold star face was looking down at me, smiling. And I started flying up to her. Bro, I was so lucid. In the middle of me getting closer to her, I stopped and said to myself, am I flying? And I looked down and I could see an aerial view of the entire beach. I could see me. I could see my buddy. I could see... It was so lucid. I've never tripped this lucid before. And even in the middle of that trip, I looked down. When I noticed I was flying, I said to myself, fuck yeah. And I started flying like Superman. I purposefully put my hand like Superman and I flew closer to her. And as I got closer to her, I wanted to see what she was made out of. And the way my brain made it look like, every little shimmer that was coming from her were these little globes with shape-shifting hieroglyphs inside them. They were gold and scarlet, and they were just constantly. It was almost like I was looking into some type of device that was showing me all the alphabets of the known universe.
Right.
It's like I was looking at ancient texts and shit like that. It was so weird. When I came back from that trip, she gave me, and I downloaded so much information from her. She told me in that trip, basically, go back to comedy.
Oh, come on, yes?
I swear to God, bro. She said in that trip, she's like, the only reason you are producing reality TV shows is because you love telling people that you are a Hollywood producer.
Right.
So she really told me that I was really mostly enjoying producing Hollywood shows, mainly because I like the prestige that it comes with.
Right.
You know, like if I told one guy at the airport, yeah, he's like, what do you do? So I produce Swamp People. He wanted to take a picture with me. What the fuck is that? It's not like I'm on the show.
Yeah.
So that's what she told me. Go back to comedy. She didn't tell me what comedy. She just said, go back to comedy. And she gave me a plan for my real estate investments that I followed through on. She told me, leave LA for 1 year, Airbnb your apartment for 1 year, go to Detroit, stay with your mom. You have 4 rental properties that you weren't doing anything with that were sitting in the suburbs. Sell those and then buy cheaper Detroit homes, increase your portfolio. And then she told me, get a property manager. You're too egotistical for a property manager. She was literally telling me that my ego was running me.
So you got all this from a star woman, in a mushroom trip on an island in Indonesia.
Bro, it was bro, it was like my brain got cleansed and I really could see the truth. And the truth was, get your fucking nose out of the ass of reality TV and get your head in the game and realize you're funny.
Well, it's definitely worked. You picked the right one. You're fucking amazing on stage.
Well, I appreciate that, man. But this is what really trips me out. When I finally did my first open mic, Ian Salmon, who's a comedian in LA, was there, and so was Dave Carter. My first open mic in LA, I was telling a story about getting my phone back from a crack dealer in Detroit. Okay. It went really well in this little Chinese restaurant. While I was telling the story, Dave Carter gets a call from his cousin Dave, who lives in Detroit. While he talks to his buddy in Detroit, Dave goes, hey, some Arab kid's up here talking about Detroit. And his cousin from Detroit's like, well, what's his name? He looks at the sheet on the sign-up sheet, goes, oh, it's Mike Eshaq. Turns out Dave, that's on the phone, was living in the neighborhood where I was telling the story where I was living at. So after I got off the stage doing my first open mic, Dave Carter walks up to me, gives me a phone. He goes, hey, man, someone wants to talk to you. I catch up with this guy that I haven't talked to since I've lived there. And then Ian Salmon goes, hey, man, I got this open mic and this show. You should come do it. And that was the beginning, bro. Like, it was crazy. She told me to go back to comedy. I had no idea what that meant. And then accidentally, I tried an open mic. And Ian Salmon tells me to do another one and that I'm funny and that I should keep doing it.
See, the power of mushrooms, folks, right there from Mike Eshaq.
I hate to believe in foo-foo shit, man, but those are one of those things where when you start connecting the dots, that's when you start going, what the fuck is going on?
10 milligrams of mushrooms is hardly foo-foo.
But what I'm saying is like the things that are happening that are real, you know?
Yes.
Like,
no, it's amazing that your subconscious was basically opened up and you were able to basically think at a higher level and come out where you wanted to come out.
Yeah, I mean, whether she is real or not, the point is that the mushrooms blasted my ego out of the picture where I could really see the things for what they really were.